visionary, an entrepreneur, a business owner. You want to make money from your passion and create the freedom that you've dreamed of. But it's slow. The income is slow, the impact is slow, and the freedom is slow. And here's the kicker. You've actually never been busier. You're working longer than ever, burning through daylight, and your family have forgotten who you are. You're tired and frustrated and you can't even sleep well at night. The business just feels so heavy, and all you ever wanted to do was just make the money you want to make doing the things that you want to do. And that's where I come in. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'm the host of the Business Acceleration Podcast, where we shift your business from heavy to light, time poor to time abundant, and from income lack to income growth. We're going to achieve it together with my 20 years experience as a psychologist, helping people just like you to break through their barriers. And we're going to throw in a little of the woo as well. So thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Business Acceleration Podcast. I'm super excited because today I'm introducing you to a very, very lovely new friend of mine by the name of Victoria Holland. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Okay, so just so we can introduce you to the listeners, can you tell us a little bit about who you help and how you help them?
Certainly. I am the CEO of Elevated Not Tolerated Coaching and Motivational Services, and I serve men and women between the ages of 35 and 65. I do that in a matter of coaching and through interventions, practical thinking, and I also talk to groups on a motivational standpoint to empower them.
Okay, so that all sounds really fascinating, and I can't wait to get stuck into talking with you more about motivation today. But can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, how did you come to be in the business of motivating others?
It's actually, I say it's a part of my healing. I went through a period of my life where I was uncertain of who I was and where I was going. We get to a point in our lives where we think we know it all, and then the bottom falls out of the pit. And I was stuck. I didn't know who I was. And I went through several things, homelessness, all of those kinds of domestic violence, all of those types of issues. And one day I decided that nothing in this world was going to hold me back. Nothing was going to keep me from moving to my next level. And so I just had this aha moment, if you will, where everything just made sense that I could move forward. And so through that process, I decided that it was time to help some other people, that some other people actually needed to know that they didn't have to stay in the same old mud that they were in, that they could move forward. They just had to get up. They had to remind themselves why they were created.
Okay, and so how does somebody do that when you're in that really black hole? How does somebody remind themselves that there's more out there for them?
It takes a lot of energy, first of all. You have to get to a changing of your mindset. And it happened for me by talking to someone else, a fellow coach, if you will, just happened to pop in my world and started talking to me and asking me questions. And why was I there? And, why was I going through that part of my life? Because they could look at me and see that on the outside, I looked great, but they knew just from my conversation that I was in a hole. And so it took talking to someone who could, produce those questions to me that made me think and dig deep inside. And so it changed my mindset that I could look good on the outside, but still be hurting. But you have to get to a point where your mind starts wrapping around those things and coming out of being programmed, because so many times we're programmed. And so it took this coach talking to me and speaking to me and getting my mindset changed.
So had there been other coaches or other well-intentioned people around you at the time that had also been having conversations with you? What was different about this particular person? Or was it something that was different about you? Like, were you in a different space to perhaps receive or allow help or ideas or motivation?
The people that were around me in my circle actually didn't know how bad I was, because I've always been very independent and I always looked good on the outside. Many people didn't even know I was homeless at the time. I was still looking, putting the makeup on, all of that. But at the moment that I realized that, I'm sitting in McDonald's after coming out of the ladies' room, freshening up and getting ready for my day, that there's this lady who had saw me several days in a row. And she basically just walked into my world and said, "What's wrong with you? Let me help you." And once I opened up to her, I was able to open up to other people. And that's when I was able to talk about it. And that's when other people realized that I've been hiding, if you will, behind the facade of life. And so it was a change. So I was in a dark place, but somebody else brought me to the light.
Okay. And so then what happened?
After a lot of soul searching and dealing with my own issues, because see, I'm a minister by nature. I'm an evangelist. And so, the first thing that people thought was, "Oh, well, you're a preacher. You shouldn't be going through that anyway. You know the higher power." Well, that is true. But once you've been programmed, you have to go through a process of deprogramming. And so at that point, I sought out help from, I sought conversations with my mentors, my spiritual leaders. And I started talking about the things that everybody else was afraid to talk about. What happened 20 years ago that caused my life to just stay in this box. And I started talking to people, and then they started understanding. It was more people that needed to hear it. So the more I talked about it, the more it came evident to me that there needed to be a plateau where people could honestly speak what was really deep inside of them and bring it to another level. And so as I began to go through that process, God started revealing things to me that, there was things that you could speak out of your mouth that really would manifest if you spoke it out and you took authority. So I began talking about it. And the more I talked about what I was feeling, I had this phrase, elevated, not tolerated, just pop in my head. And I'm like, what? You mean after all this time, I've been tolerating the life? And it was like, it was born. The phrase elevated, not tolerated just came. And the next thing I know, I was talking to other people and I was setting up workshops and I was doing some things and just feeling such a passion for people that were hurting. And it's kind of just how it started. It just evolved from being a changing of the mindset.
Yes, mindset is everything, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You have to have a determination.
So now you work with people and you're a motivational speaker. Is that right?
That's correct. I love it.
I can tell. What are some of the challenges that people have when it comes to feeling motivated or finding that motivation?
Again, it kind of goes back to the mindset. I think a lot of times people confuse motivational speakers. I've had this argument, if you will, that, motivational speakers are limited and that, once you leave the arena, the person goes back to their same mindset. Well, not with me. When you leave from hearing me talk about a topic and I'm motivating you, you're going to go back to your world and you're going to generate all of that energy and you're going to start thinking of all the processes that you need to go through. I think with motivational speakers, a lot of times people are looking for a crumb and we need to give them a whole meal. And I'm giving whole meals. I think it's important that a person just doesn't live for that split second, but they go to a whole nother level of their thinking. Again, it goes back to mindset. So with motivational speaking, you're getting a bigger group of people. You're able to feel the atmosphere. You're able to generate the energy that's in that room. And you're able to let your mind just blossom into what the topic is and bring them together. That's what they're looking for. People are looking for people that can empower them in an environment where they don't have to be ostracized. And so I think in a group, as a motivational speaker, that's my biggest thing. I love having a group to be able to see them.
Absolutely. And so when you're talking about mindset being one of the, obstacles, big struggles for people with their motivation, are you talking about things like their limiting beliefs, like they don't believe that change is possible and things like that?
Yes. You have to kind of, you have to encourage people to look outside of the box. I think it's like anything that is new to the mind. You have to explain to people that, it's okay to not understand your process, but to know that there is a process. So a lot of times when the obstacle of the mindset for people who are listening to a motivational speaker, they actually think that's your opinion, that's not mine. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you have to go into their world and you have to show them these are some steps, these are some techniques, these are some tools that anybody can do. And that's when people start to go, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this whole motivational thing. And when you start talking in their language, when you start speaking from what's inside of their minds, and then you see the light bulbs go off and you start tackling their changing. And that's what happens when people, they don't understand that process in the beginning. But at the end of that journey, when you're seeing them asking more questions, they're getting more into it. That's when you know that they're opening up what they haven't heard before.
Okay. And you mentioned about the concept of programming and, we become programmed and then we have to go through a program of deprogramming, but we have to go through a change of, Can you talk a little bit more about, programming?
Sure. As I listened to a podcast of my dear friend, Dr. Storr. And one of the things that I had to laugh was because growing up, I too was told that, rich people believe this way, poor people believe this way. I love that whole scenario is just fascinating to me. But at the same token, when I was listening to that, I was reminded that, people are used to being told to be quiet about issues. They're being told that, you don't talk about this in this certain way. So when you begin to motivate them and you're coaching them and you're talking to them about things that they've never heard, you actually have to go into the process of saying, look, this is what you were told. Was it wrong? No. Was it clear, not clearly defined? Once you start telling them and then educating them that it wasn't clearly defined and that they have to look at their own aspects of the perception, if you will, then you begin to start saying, okay, these are some other avenues. Then the deprogramming process becomes easier because you can show them what they've known, but you can also show them the holes in it, if you will. And then the perception that they had that wasn't theirs, but it was given to them. And once you start letting people listen to their own views on things, then you're able to say, okay, now have you ever thought about this? And you start that deprogramming process. Then they can start looking at themselves as individuals.
Okay. And the other thing that I really wanted to ask you as well was your thoughts on motivation. So, there's intrinsic motivation where it comes from inside and there's extrinsic motivation comes from the outside. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, do you think that one type of motivation is more effective than another when we're trying to create change?
I don't think one is more important than the other. I think it's how we need to actually combine the two. I think that, again, once you tap into us on the inside, you can actually bring out viewpoints on the outside. So if you can combine the two concepts together, then it gives a more clear picture to the individual or to the group, if you will. Because I'm typically known as an introvert, believe it or not. But once I start thinking about other aspects and what I've learned, it's brought other things out. So it was the concept of the two together that created, if you will, a whole different monster or someone else on the outside. So I think that together the two need to be combined.
Okay. And what would you say for some of the women that listen to the show and they're in business and they're struggling because they don't have emotional support from people in their lives? Maybe the partner doesn't believe in the business because it's not yet turning over any money. And maybe their friends or girlfriends are like, you should just quit and go and do your 9 to 5. How could another female business owner still maintain that motivational alignment with her true purpose without support from others?
I've actually gone through that. In operating my business, this is going to be going into the 3rd year. And I've been told millions of times, it's time for you to give it up. It's time for you to stop. What good is it doing? People are listening, but they're not doing this. You know what I'm saying? So I've gone through it. And what has motivated me is to know that there's somebody out there that needs my story. We as women, we are very emotional creatures to a degree. You know, I tend to not always agree with that statement, but you know, we do think with our hearts because we're nurturers. So in essence, we're always wanting to, you know, love and nurture and create. And sometimes because we don't see that same nurturing done for us, we tend to, you know, get anxieties, or we tend to, you know, start thinking that we're not good enough. Excuse me. And your self-worth starts, excuse me, leading. But the thing that we as women, we have to use the same skills. We have to use the same mindset that we see other people. What has motivated me is I actually have to close my eyes like I'm doing right now. And I have to see those other people, those other women, those other people that need my story, that need to know that they can make it. We have to continue to always talk to ourselves. We have to empower what's inside of us. Don't ever give up your dreams. Don't ever give up what has been attracted to you. The law of attraction has brought this to you. So it must be something that is unique about you. So I say to any woman, any boy, any girl, that don't allow anything to stop you. Sometimes you have to walk away from the very people that are the closest to you in order to get a clear vision of what you see. In one of my classes, I teach about mirror, mirror. And one of the things I say, do you see what's in the mirror? The mirror doesn't change. It's what you see. And so I say to any woman, don't forget what you see. Don't forget what's in your heart, because your heart will build your motivation. It will build your momentum. Just don't allow anything to stop you. Sometimes you just need that extra person in your life that can speak to your life. Sometimes it's a complete stranger. And that's what sometimes we as women need. We need to go outside of our norm. I use the phrase normaticity. Go out of your normaticity and find the reality of who you really are. Don't give up. Do not give up. I need your story. Don't give up.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think anchoring into your why. And the reason that I think a lot of us get into business in the first place is because I think at our very soul level, at our very core level, we want to make an impact. We want to change one person's life. You know, I do this podcast and it gets downloaded so many times, and I just think, I hope something I've said has fallen on the person that really needs to hear this message right now. And I think as women in business, that's always our goal. And when things aren't working out, when you're not getting the paying clients, or when you're having the difficult clients that are asking for refunds, or it's just not going well, you don't have that support in your life, I think, what you're saying about really remembering that, it's not just about you. It's about those people that are, needing you right now. You've got to be there for them, and you've got to keep showing up for them.
Yes. And you have been such an inspiration to me, just to know that someone else out there. And, and that's what it's all about, collaboration with people like you that just can make us remember why we're really doing what we do and why we love what we do, in spite of the money and all of those things that may not be there. And it's empowering, because when we can just collaborate with someone in our lives, like, you and, so many people out there, it's amazing. The amazing thing about the doors is that will open up if we just sit back and collaborate with the right person who can hear what's in our minds and push us to that next level.
Yes, and it's through that collaboration, I think, that we serve our audiences better. I mean, I absolutely know that there are going to be people that listen to this podcast that will be listening to your message today, and they really need to hear that, and they're going to be taking that away with them. And it's just, when we make it not about us and we keep the focus on our audience, everybody benefits. Don't you think?
Yes, everybody wins. When we think about the other source, the other people that we've been drawn to and attached to, we think about them and we put aside all of our little quirky things. It doesn't even matter. I mean, even tonight, it doesn't matter that I'm coughing. What matters is there's people out there that I want to be able to help. So it doesn't matter. If we can just get aside from what we're dealing with and see the other side of the picture, it means so much more. It means so much more to help someone else.
Absolutely. I love that. Do you have any words of advice or encouragement for the listeners around how they can keep their motivation really high?
Well, I will tell you this. There are some things that I'm learning to do that I'm teaching some of my students is, first of all, always keep a journal. You need to journal, what's going on in your world. Because at some point you'd be able to go back and kind of reflect on some things. The other thing is to take out time for yourself. Don't wait to get sick to have a moment to sit in the bed and relax. Take out some time just for yourself. Look ahead and start planning a day. One of the things that I taught in one of my classes a couple of weeks ago was I made them put it in their calendar. You have to write it in your calendar in ink. Today is my day. And that day, nothing else comes up, nothing. And you have to do that. That's a part of self-care where you're really taking care of your mind and your spirit and being able to listen to the higher power, what's going on in your world. The other thing is taking a nice long walk. Not only does it help you physically, but it also helps clear your mind, just to see the things that are around you, just experience what has been created. Once you can do that, you get this breath of fresh air. It starts coming back to you. So I always encourage people to, like I say, first of all, make sure you're journaling. Make sure you have something in your calendar that's just for you and nobody else, just for you. Let that be your day of venting to your own self if you have to. Give it 15 minutes of venting and a whole lot more hours of relaxation for yourself. And take those long walks. Go by the river. Do something fun. Do something you've never done in your life. I did something a couple of weeks ago I've never done, and that was actually walk downtown of the city that I live in by myself. I've never done it. And I've been here 13 years. It was exuberating. Oh, my God. It was amazing just to do something new for yourself.
Oh, I love hearing that. Taking walks, it's so important. When I was listening to you just then, I was thinking how lucky I am to be near the beach in this office. And in my previous office, I was also right on the beach. We had a view of the water, and my office was all glass on 2 walls, and so you could see the beach. And people used to come into my office and say, wow, how do you get any work done with this beautiful view? But I never, ever, ever really took the time to look outside that window because my face was always buried in the laptop doing work. And then I moved out of that building, and now I think, oh, gosh, I wish I had taken the time to really appreciate that view. Or, even now we're across the road from the beach, and I think the number of times I've actually walked over there could be counted on one hand, yet this is a prime location that everybody wants to be here for, but I'm in my office all the time. And so hearing you talking about really connecting, I guess, with your environment is making a lot of sense. And it's true. I think absolutely we do feel better when we've been outside and you can clear your mind. Something else I think that can be really helpful is to really try and practice using attention. And by that, I mean focusing into what's going on around you and really stop and say, what do I see right now? And yeah, when I first started applying this practice, it was really strange because I expected I was going to see the same old stuff. But no, suddenly I saw a building that I didn't realise had been there. There was a street sign that was new, it had been replaced, and it had a new logo on it and things like that. And I hadn't ever noticed that before. And there's a different type of bird over where I live, and I hadn't noticed that before. And so really tuning into your awareness, I think,
yes. Does.
Can really help you because, it takes your mind off the problems and it takes your mind off the worry. And when you've got that clearer approach to work, it just makes everything that much easier, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It really does. I'm learning. Take little quick moments just to breathe for yourself.
Yeah, and I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes when we're in business, it's such a big learning curve and we can spend so much time doing all of the things. And, that can be really unmotivating sometimes because you do feel quite isolated and you feel like you're in it alone. It's just you and the computer, in your little room somewhere, and you're not participating in life out there. And so by doing something like removing yourself and allowing yourself, as you said, to diarise that time where you do just give yourself a break. And even if it's not a whole day, maybe it could just be something else, like, an afternoon walk or something like that. Is going to make all the difference in, as you're saying, helping somebody to keep their motivation.
Yes. The resilience that we need, we have to take advantage of it, because if we don't, then we'll start, we'll get so into our businesses and the mishaps or what have you, that we forget life. And you'll lose the momentum of what's surrounding you. Even your family and friends, you'll start, it's sort of like you'll be in a box and there's no one there but you. And you have to take that time to just walk away. Just walk away. Like you said, if it's nothing but 30 minutes, walk away from it. The business will be there one way or the other. It's going to be there. But at the end of the day, will that moment that you missed, seeing that red robin go across it's just simple things that just can make such a difference. Just makes a big difference.
Absolutely. So, Victoria, how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about your services and what you're sort of doing in the world at the moment? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
They can actually email me at elevatednottolerated, one word, @gmail.com. And I also have my new website that should be coming out today, as a matter of fact. And that's victoriamholland.com. They can also reach me there as well. But they can always reach me through Facebook. I'm on Facebook Live every mornings from 7 to 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. But definitely by email. We can get you some information sent out to you very quickly by email. A lot of the people that have reached out to me have found me on Facebook and through Instagram. I was a late bloomer in the business marketing industry. So a lot of people found me that way, which has worked out pretty good for me. It's been able to see some things. There are a couple of other, I still do have a couple of, what do I want to say, lives out there that stays up all the time. So people can reach me mainly through the email and through Facebook, instant messaging. Like I said, the new web up too.
Brilliant. So I'll put all of Victoria's details in the show notes, guys, so you'll just be able to tap them and you'll go straight to her page, make it super nice and easy for you. And I want to say just such a big heartfelt thank you for being on the show today, especially when you're not feeling 100%. Guys, Victoria's actually shared with me that she's just recovering from the flu. So what a commitment. Thank you so much for being here. We all appreciate you and the work that you're doing so much.
Well, thank you. I thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks. Have a lovely day. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope that you enjoyed it and got a lot of value from it. Help me help others by sharing this podcast. And if you feel called to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, remember to let me know so that I can send you a very special thank you gift. Now go and build your dream business, and I will see you next time. Bye.